How to Stop Overthinking, written by Justin Tracy, published by Simple Audiobooks. Introduction. Overthinking is a deeply ingrained mental and emotional habit that consumes the mind, often without individuals even realizing how much it is affecting them. It is a pattern of excessive and repetitive thought processes where the mind becomes stuck in an endless loop of questioning, doubting, analyzing, and worrying. Instead of resolving an issue or gaining clarity, overthinking complicates situations, creating a cycle of confusion and emotional exhaustion. People who overthink often find themselves replaying past events, dissecting every word or action they or someone else took, and imagining alternative scenarios where things might have gone differently. They may also obsess over the future, trying to anticipate every possible outcome of a decision or situation in an attempt to control it. This incessant mental activity, however, rarely leads to actionable solutions and instead drains mental energy, leaving individuals feeling anxious, stressed, and disconnected from the present moment. At its core, overthinking stems from the human mind's natural tendency to seek certainty, predictability, and control. The brain is wired to solve problems, but when faced with situations that involve uncertainty, risk, or emotional stakes, it can spiral into overdrive. Overthinkers often believe that if they just think long enough or hard enough, they can prevent failure, avoid mistakes, or make the perfect decision. However, this is an illusion, as life's inherent unpredictability means it is impossible to account for every variable. Overthinking doesn't just fail to bring clarity. It actively undermines confidence and decision-making. By constantly second-guessing themselves, individuals begin to mistrust their own judgment, leading to procrastination and paralysis. They become trapped in a loop where their fear of making the wrong choice prevents them from making any choice at all, causing missed opportunities and regrets. The introduction of How to Stop Overthinking delves deeply into this destructive cycle, explaining its psychological, emotional, and even physiological impacts. It explores how overthinking not only hijacks mental bandwidth, but also contributes to a cascade of negative emotions, including anxiety, self-doubt, and even feelings of hopelessness. These emotions, in turn, reinforce the habit of overthinking, creating a self-perpetuating feedback loop. The book draws attention to the subtle ways overthinking seeps into everyday life, from spending hours deliberating over trivial decisions, such as what to wear or what to say in an email, to more significant moments like career choices, relationships, or personal goals. By overanalyzing, people lose the ability to trust their instincts, often dismissing their inner wisdom as irrational or inadequate. In relationships, overthinking can be particularly damaging. It leads people to read too much into others' words or actions, creating misunderstandings and unnecessary conflict. For instance, someone might overanalyze a friend's brief text message, interpreting it as a sign of anger or rejection, when in reality, the friend was just busy. Overthinking also causes people to ruminate on past interactions, replaying conversations in their heads and obsessing over whether they said or did the right thing. This not only strains relationships, but also prevents genuine, authentic connection, as the overthinker is too preoccupied with their internal dialogue to be fully present. The introduction goes on to explain that overthinking doesn't just affect emotional well-being, it also stifles creativity and problem-solving. When the mind is consumed with repetitive thoughts, it becomes rigid and narrow, unable to see new perspectives or innovative solutions. Overthinkers may spend hours trying to perfect a task, only to feel dissatisfied with the result, because their excessive scrutiny blinds them to the value of their efforts. This perfectionism is another hallmark of overthinking, as people set unrealistically high standards for themselves and fear falling short. The constant mental chatter also prevents them from experiencing the simple joys of life, as their attention is always focused on hypothetical scenarios rather than the reality unfolding around them. The introduction emphasizes that overthinking is not an inherent personality trait, but a learned behavior that can be unlearned. It reassures readers that while overthinking may feel like an inescapable part of who they are, it is actually a habit rooted in specific thought patterns and beliefs. By recognizing and challenging these patterns, individuals can break free from the grip of overthinking. The book introduces the idea that the first step to overcoming overthinking is awareness, becoming conscious of when and how overthinking occurs. This self-awareness allows individuals to interrupt the cycle and redirect their thoughts toward more productive and calming avenues. The book also highlights the importance of embracing imperfection and uncertainty as essential aspects of life. Overthinking often arises from a fear of failure or the unknown, but by learning to accept that not every decision will be perfect and not every outcome can be predicted, individuals can release themselves from the pressure to overanalyze. The introduction invites readers to shift their focus from trying to control every detail to taking purposeful action. Even in the face of uncertainty, it teaches them to trust their instincts, reminding them that their intuition is often more reliable than the endless stream of thoughts generated by an anxious mind. Practical strategies, such as mindfulness, journaling, and setting clear boundaries for decision-making, are introduced as tools to quiet the mind and create space for clarity and peace. For example, mindfulness practices help individuals stay grounded in the present moment, breaking the habit of ruminating on the past or worrying about the future. Journaling provides a safe outlet for expressing and organizing thoughts, reducing mental clutter. Setting time limits for decisions helps prevent overanalysis and encourages decisive action. These techniques, combined with a commitment to self-compassion and patience, form the foundation for transforming an overactive mind into a source of calm, confidence, and resilience. Ultimately, the introduction of How to Stop Overthinking sets the stage for a transformative journey. It assures readers that overcoming overthinking is not about silencing their thoughts altogether, but about learning to manage them in a way that serves their well-being and goals. It encourages them to see their mind not as a source of endless chatter, but as a powerful tool that, when used wisely, can help them navigate life with greater ease and purpose. By addressing the root causes of overthinking and providing actionable steps to break free from its grip, the book empowers readers to reclaim their mental energy, build self-trust, and create a life that feels lighter, freer, and more fulfilling. Chapter 1. Understanding Overthinking, the Mental Trap. Understanding overthinking as a mental trap involves a deep exploration of how the mind becomes caught in patterns of excessive thought, creating cycles of doubt, fear, and emotional paralysis. Overthinking often begins as a seemingly rational response to uncertainty, presenting itself as caution, problem-solving, or planning. The mind convinces itself that by analyzing every angle, reviewing every possibility, or considering every hypothetical outcome, it can ensure the best decisions and prevent mistakes. However, this process quickly becomes counterproductive. Instead of providing clarity, overthinking leads to mental exhaustion and confusion, making it harder to move forward. It feeds on fear of failure, fear of being judged, fear of regret, and transforms these fears into repetitive thought loops. These loops make individuals feel like they are actively addressing a problem when, in reality, they are merely rehearsing their worries without reaching any resolution. Overthinking often manifests into primary forms, ruminating on the past and obsessing over the future. When ruminating, people replay past events in their minds, dissecting every interaction, decision, or conversation, searching for hidden meanings or signs of what they could have done differently. This constant rehashing creates a sense of regret or shame, as individuals focus on what went wrong or what they perceive as their shortcomings. On the other hand, future-focused overthinking is driven by anxiety and the need for control. The mind jumps from one hypothetical scenario to another, trying to predict and prevent possible negative outcomes. These thoughts often take the form of what-if questions. What if I fail? What if I choose wrong? What if I'm not good enough? Creating a mental environment of perpetual uncertainty. This fixation on both the past and future disconnects people from the present moment, robbing them of the ability to enjoy life as it happens. The psychological mechanisms behind overthinking are rooted in the brain's natural tendency to seek safety and avoid risks. While this instinct is useful in genuine threats, overthinking applies it to situations where such vigilance is unnecessary. Perfectionism is a significant contributor, as overthinkers often set unrealistically high standards for themselves and fear falling short. They believe that by obsessing over details, they can achieve a flawless outcome. But this pursuit of perfection only increases stress and self-doubt. Similarly, the fear of judgment plays a central role, as overthinkers worrying excessively about how others perceive them, scrutinizing their words and actions to avoid criticism. This creates an exhausting cycle of self-monitoring and second-guessing, leaving little room for spontaneity or authentic expression. The effects of overthinking extend beyond the individual's internal world, impacting their relationships, productivity, and overall well-being. In relationships, overthinking can cause misunderstandings and unnecessary tension, as people read too much into others' words or actions, searching for hidden meanings or anticipating rejection. This often leads to a lack of trust and emotional intimacy, as overthinkers may hesitate to express themselves openly, fearing they will say the wrong thing. In professional or personal decision-making, overthinking delays progress, as individuals become paralyzed by their need to consider every possible option or outcome. This indecision often results in missed opportunities and regret, reinforcing the cycle of doubt and self-blame. This chapter explains that overthinking is not a natural personality trait, but a learned behavior shaped by habits, experiences, and societal pressures. The mind becomes accustomed to overanalyzing as a way to cope with uncertainty or perceived threats, but this habit creates more harm than good. Overthinking is like being trapped in a mental quicksand. The more energy you devote to thinking your way out, the deeper you sink. It tricks people into believing they are solving problems when, in reality, they are perpetuating their fears and insecurities. Over time, this habit erodes confidence, as individuals lose trust in their instincts and feel increasingly reliant on external validation or endless analysis to make decisions. By diving deeply into the triggers and mechanisms of overthinking, this chapter provides readers with the tools to identify when their thoughts cross the line from helpful reflection to harmful rumination. It emphasizes the importance of awareness, as recognizing the moment when overthinking begins is the first step toward breaking the cycle. The chapter also explores the emotional toll of overthinking, showing how it creates unnecessary stress, fatigue, and a sense of disconnection from one's true self. It explains that overthinking isn't just a mental habit, but an emotional defense mechanism, often rooted in unresolved fears, insecurities, and past experiences. Through this exploration, readers begin to see overthinking for what it truly is, a mental trap that offers the illusion of control while keeping them stuck in a state of indecision and self-doubt. This chapter sets the stage for transformation by helping readers understand that overthinking is not a sign of intelligence or care, but a barrier to confidence, clarity, and inner peace. By exposing the false promises of overthinking and revealing its hidden costs, this chapter empowers readers to take the first steps toward freeing themselves from its grip, paving the way for a calmer, more focused, and fulfilling life. Chapter 2. The Psychology of Overthinking. The psychology of overthinking involves understanding the complex cognitive and emotional processes that contribute to this habit, and how it is reinforced through biological and environmental factors. Overthinking originates from the brain's natural tendency to ensure survival, a product of evolutionary development that served as a protective mechanism when our ancestors faced immediate physical threats. This primitive survival instinct still operates in the modern world, but instead of dealing with life-threatening situations, it now responds to emotional, social, and psychological challenges. The mind continually seeks to predict potential dangers or negative outcomes to prepare for them, which leads individuals to endlessly analyze situations, conversations, and decisions. However, The problem lies in the fact that overthinking, in most cases, doesn't prevent negative outcomes or offer solutions, but rather intensifies anxiety and confusion. When overthinking becomes a habitual response to fear or uncertainty, it perpetuates itself as the mind becomes stuck in a loop of analysis that only amplifies emotional stress. Fear plays a central role in overthinking. The fear of failure, rejection, or making the wrong choice often triggers a cascade of thoughts where individuals feel the need to examine every possible option or outcome in an attempt to make the perfect decision. This tendency to overanalyze comes from a desire for control. Overthinkers believe that if they can anticipate every potential scenario or consequence, they can mitigate any risk. This process, however, is both futile and exhausting. Despite the extensive mental effort, the outcome is rarely more certain or secure, and overthinkers are left feeling mentally drained and emotionally overwhelmed. Fear of judgment is another key emotional driver. Many individuals overthink because they worry about how others perceive them. They scrutinize their behavior, the words they speak, or the way they present themselves, constantly worrying that they will say or do the wrong thing. This constant self-monitoring stems from a deep-seated concern about being rejected or criticized, which intensifies feelings of anxiety and self-doubt. The overthinking process is also heavily influenced by cognitive distortions, ways of thinking that reinforce the cycle of rumination. One of the most common cognitive distortions in overthinking is catastrophizing, where the mind exaggerates the likelihood and severity of negative outcomes. For instance, an individual may become fixated on a minor mistake at work, imagining that it will result in losing their job or ruining their career. This thought process leads to excessive worrying and an inability to let go of the imagined worst-case scenario, even when there is no evidence to support such drastic outcomes. Another distortion is all-or-nothing thinking, which causes overthinkers to view situations in black and white terms, without recognizing the nuances and complexities in between. This kind of thinking creates rigid, unrealistic expectations and can lead to indecision or a fear of making a wrong choice, even when multiple valid options exist. These cognitive distortions create a mental environment that thrives on exaggeration and perfectionism, further reinforcing the overthinking cycle. Perfectionism is another psychological factor that perpetuates overthinking. People who struggle with perfectionism often believe that in order to succeed or avoid mistakes, they must meticulously plan and analyze every aspect of their life. This drive for perfection can be paralyzing, as it causes individuals to second-guess even the smallest details, fearing that any flaw or imperfection will result in failure or rejection. This excessive need for control often leads to procrastination, as overthinkers delay taking action until they feel everything is just right. This constant striving for perfection creates a sense of chronic dissatisfaction, as nothing ever feels good enough. Ironically, this over-preparation usually results in more anxiety and stress, as the mind becomes overwhelmed with unnecessary details, rather than focusing on what truly matters. The fear of making a mistake or not measuring up leads to self-criticism and heightened feelings of inadequacy, making it harder to break free from the cycle of overthinking. Another significant psychological contributor to overthinking is anxiety, which often accompanies this mental habit. Anxiety manifests as a heightened state of worrying, tension, and fear about both real and imagined threats. Overthinkers frequently experience anxiety because they cannot fully resolve the uncertainty or discomfort surrounding a situation. The constant questioning and revisiting of thoughts provide a false sense of control, but in reality, this only exacerbates the anxious feelings. Anxiety triggers the fight or flight response, and in modern contexts, the mind doesn't know how to respond to emotional or social threats, so it resorts to overthinking as a coping mechanism. This leads to a vicious cycle where the anxiety spurs more overthinking, which in turn creates more anxiety, leading to a mental fog that makes it difficult to see things clearly or make decisions with confidence. The brain's reward system also plays a role in sustaining overthinking. The brain releases dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter, when we feel that we have solved a problem or made progress. However, in the case of overthinking, this reward system is triggered by the act of analyzing and reanalyzing, even when the analysis isn't helpful or productive. This gives overthinkers a temporary sense of relief or satisfaction, as if they are accomplishing something by processing their thoughts endlessly. The problem arises when this momentary sense of relief becomes addictive, reinforcing the habit of overthinking, as the brain seeks out that reward again. Over time, this results in an ongoing cycle, where the overthinker believes that analyzing every detail is necessary, and they are unable to break free from the mental loop that provides them with that brief dopamine-driven sense of control. Emotional triggers like unresolved trauma, chronic stress, and past experiences also contribute to overthinking. People who have experienced trauma or high levels of stress may become hypervigilant, constantly scanning for potential threats or signs of danger. This heightened sensitivity to perceived threats makes it harder to let go of anxious thoughts, as the mind remains on alert for anything that might go wrong. Past experiences of failure or disappointment can reinforce overthinking, as individuals become conditioned to believe that overanalyzing and preparing for every possible outcome will protect them from future pain. This pattern can become ingrained, and the brain becomes accustomed to reacting with excessive thought, even in situations that don't warrant it. The psychology of overthinking is complex, with each element feeding into the others, to create a powerful and often overwhelming cycle. The fear of failure and judgment, combined with cognitive distortions like catastrophizing and perfectionism, leads to anxiety and self-doubt, which in turn fuels more overthinking. This cycle becomes a habitual response to uncertainty, driven by the brain's desire for control and safety. The emotional triggers and past experiences that contribute to overthinking further reinforce these patterns, making it challenging to break free from the mental trap. However, understanding the psychology behind overthinking is the first step toward freeing oneself from its grip. By recognizing the underlying thought processes and emotional triggers, individuals can begin to unravel the cycle and reclaim control over their thoughts and actions. Through awareness and practical strategies, it's possible to shift from a pattern of rumination to one of clarity, focus, and confidence. Chapter 3. Recognizing the triggers. Recognizing the triggers of overthinking is essential in dismantling this mental habit, as it brings awareness to the specific internal and external factors that lead to the initiation of excessive rumination. Overthinking does not occur randomly. It is almost always prompted by something, a thought, a feeling, or an event that activates the brain's need to anticipate and control potential threats or outcomes. These triggers can be divided into both external and internal categories, and understanding them can help individuals break free from the automatic overthinking response. External triggers are often more obvious and can include situations that introduce uncertainty, risk, or stress. For example, making a big decision, whether it's related to work, relationships, or personal life, can trigger overthinking because of the uncertainty involved in not knowing the right answer. The mind may begin to run through countless possible outcomes and scenarios, often magnifying the potential negative consequences of every choice, which leads to indecision and mental exhaustion. Similarly, public speaking, meeting new people, or facing a situation where one feels judged or vulnerable can ignite overthinking. These social triggers often bring about fears of rejection, criticism, or failure, and the individual may obsess over their actions, words, or appearance, fearing they might be perceived negatively. Even routine, everyday events like making a phone call, sending an email, or choosing an outfit can activate overthinking if the person feels an underlying pressure to get everything perfect or avoid making any mistakes. Internal triggers, however, are often more subtle and can be harder to identify, as they stem from deeply ingrained fears, insecurities, and past experiences. One of the most common internal triggers is self-doubt. When individuals feel unsure about their abilities or judgment, it creates a fertile ground for overthinking. The mind starts questioning every choice and action, trying to figure out if the decision was correct or if something was missed. This can lead to a cascade of thoughts that loop around in the mind, as the individual replays every detail of the situation in search of evidence of right or wrong, which ultimately leads to further confusion. This self-doubt can also be triggered by a lack of confidence, especially in areas where a person has previously failed or been criticized. If someone has experienced past failure or rejection, the memory of those events can activate the brain's fear response, making it difficult to move forward without excessive mental analysis. Another common internal trigger is anxiety, especially the anxiety of not knowing what will happen in the future. When the brain perceives uncertainty, it reacts by overthinking, attempting to plan for every possible outcome in order to feel in control. The anxiety of not having a clear picture of the future, whether it's related to a job, relationship, or any other aspect of life, can create a sense of overwhelm that triggers overthinking. Emotions such as guilt, shame, or regret can also be internal triggers, especially when someone is reflecting on past mistakes or imagining how others might judge them. These feelings prompt the mind to obsess over how things could have been different, or whether there's a way to undo past actions, which often leads to rumination without any real resolution. Overthinking can also be triggered by cognitive distortions, which are the exaggerated, irrational ways of thinking that reinforce mental habits. For instance, all or nothing thinking, or seeing situations as either completely good or completely bad, can be a trigger for overthinking, especially when facing choices that involve shades of grey or complex decision-making. Similarly, catastrophizing, the tendency to imagine the worst possible outcome, can set off a chain reaction of overanalyzing, even when the situation does not warrant it. If a person is faced with a challenging but not life-threatening decision, they may start imagining that a poor choice will lead to catastrophic consequences, which results in heightened anxiety and a mental spiral. This distorted way of thinking makes it difficult to see things clearly, and the person is left mentally paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong move. Another subtle trigger for overthinking is perfectionism, which stems from the belief that anything less than perfect is unacceptable. This internal pressure to do everything flawlessly can trigger overthinking in situations that are relatively low stakes, such as sending a text message or making a small decision. The desire to ensure perfection often leads the individual to scrutinize every detail excessively, replaying possible outcomes and obsessing over whether they will be good enough. This pursuit of perfection makes it difficult to move forward, as any deviation from the ideal scenario feels like failure, pushing the person to analyze every step in an attempt to achieve a flawless result. There are also social and environmental triggers for overthinking that arise from societal pressures or cultural norms. In environments that emphasize success, competition, or achievement, such as high-pressure workplaces or competitive social circles, individuals may feel an intense need to constantly prove their worth. This pressure can trigger overthinking, especially when it comes to performance-related tasks. The fear of not living up to these external expectations can drive individuals to overanalyze everything, from their work output to their interactions with others, in a bid to ensure they don't fall short. Similarly, social comparison, measuring oneself against others, can be a powerful trigger for overthinking, especially in today's age of social media, where curated images of others' successes, beauty, or lifestyles can evoke feelings of inadequacy. When individuals compare themselves to others, they often overthink their own actions and choices, doubting whether they are measuring up to the perceived standards set by those around them. Overthinking can also be activated by a lack of clarity in one's goals or desires. When people don't have a clear sense of direction or purpose, the mind begins to fill in the gaps with endless possibilities and what-ifs, attempting to make sense of the uncertainty. This feeling of being lost or unsure about one's next steps can lead to analysis paralysis, where the individual becomes so overwhelmed by choices or possibilities that they are unable to make any decisions at all. A lack of clarity creates a mental fog, making it difficult to determine the best course of action. And the mind responds by overthinking in an attempt to find a solution or a way forward. Traumatic experiences or unresolved emotional wounds can also trigger overthinking. When a person has been through emotional trauma, whether related to relationships, loss, or personal hardship, these unresolved feelings can be triggered by situations that echo the past experience. For example, if someone has been through a difficult breakup, new relationships or situations involving vulnerability may trigger overthinking about their worth or fear of getting hurt again. These past wounds create an emotional sensitivity that makes it more difficult to navigate current experiences without being influenced by old patterns of thought. The awareness of these various triggers is fundamental because it enables individuals to notice when their mind begins to slip into the cycle of overthinking and take proactive steps to disrupt it. Recognizing triggers such as stress, fear, perfectionism, or self-doubt helps individuals understand that overthinking is not random, but a learned response to certain cues. By identifying the emotional or situational context that activates overthinking, people can begin to intervene with mindfulness techniques, reframing their thoughts, or using relaxation exercises to break the mental cycle. Awareness also helps individuals understand that overthinking is not a necessary or productive response, but rather a habit that can be changed by reprogramming how they approach uncertainty, fear, and anxiety. With this recognition, it becomes possible to step away from the automatic overthinking response, reclaim mental clarity, and move toward more balanced, thoughtful decision-making. Chapter 4: Letting Go of Perfectionism. Letting go of perfectionism is a deeply transformative and often difficult process, as it requires individuals to confront and dismantle long-standing beliefs and behaviors that have been ingrained over time. Perfectionism is not simply about aiming for excellence, it's about an overwhelming need to control every outcome and ensure that nothing is left to chance, with a deeply rooted fear that any deviation from an ideal standard will result in failure, rejection, or self-worth being diminished. At the heart of perfectionism is the belief that mistakes are not just part of life, but are catastrophic and should be avoided at all costs. This belief is often driven by the need for external validation, where the individual feels that their value and acceptance depend entirely on meeting unrealistically high standards. Over time, this mindset creates immense pressure, as the person feels they must constantly prove themselves worthy through flawless performance in every area of life. This need for perfection becomes a psychological trap, where every small detail is scrutinized, leading to stress, burnout, and an inability to enjoy or appreciate the process of doing something. Instead of focusing on the experience, the perfectionist fixates on the outcome, often obsessing over every tiny imperfection and becoming deeply dissatisfied even with the smallest flaws. The impact of perfectionism is not just mental and emotional, it often manifests physically as well. The constant tension to meet unattainable standards leads to high levels of anxiety, sleep disturbances, fatigue, and even physical ailments like headaches, muscle tension, or digestive problems. This is because the body is constantly in a state of heightened alertness, as the mind is always preparing for the next task, anticipating the worst-case scenario, or worrying about the judgments of others. Furthermore, perfectionism can result in a fear of failure so profound that it leads to procrastination, where the individual delays taking action out of the belief that nothing they do will ever measure up. In this way, the pursuit of perfection actually becomes a barrier to progress, as the person becomes paralyzed by their own expectations. The cycle of perfectionism is self-perpetuating because the individual rarely experiences satisfaction or relief, no matter how much effort they put into their work. The constant striving for an ideal that is inherently unattainable prevents them from feeling successful or accomplished, leaving them with a lingering sense of inadequacy. Letting go of perfectionism involves a significant shift in mindset, moving from a fear-based approach to one based on acceptance and self-compassion. It requires individuals to begin to recognize that perfection is an illusion, and the pursuit of it is not only futile, but also counterproductive. One of the first steps in this process is to acknowledge that mistakes, failures, and imperfections are natural and valuable parts of life. The idea that mistakes are signs of incompetence or failure needs to be replaced with the understanding that they are opportunities for growth and learning. Every mistake offers insight into how something can be improved, and often, failure is the most direct way to understand the process of mastery. This reframing of failure as a stepping stone rather than a setback allows individuals to approach challenges with curiosity and resilience, instead of fear and self-judgment. When perfectionism is released, individuals begin to appreciate the journey itself, the small, incremental steps toward improvement rather than fixating on an idealized end result. It's about accepting that doing one's best is often enough, and that personal growth comes not from achieving perfection, but from engaging in the process with an open mind and a willingness to learn. A critical aspect of letting go of perfectionism is developing self-compassion. This involves learning to treat oneself with the same kindness, patience, and understanding that one would offer a close friend. Self-compassion means recognizing that everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and that flaws do not diminish one's inherent worth. People with perfectionist tendencies often have harsh, critical inner voices that constantly point out their mistakes or shortcomings. These voices can be so loud that they overshadow any sense of achievement or satisfaction. Overcoming perfectionism requires quieting these voices and replacing them with a more compassionate and nurturing inner dialogue. It also involves accepting that imperfection is not a personal flaw but a universal truth that connects us all. By showing kindness to oneself, individuals can begin to break the cycle of self-criticism and self-punishment that fuels perfectionism, which opens the door for greater mental and emotional freedom. Part of the process of letting go of perfectionism is learning to redefine success and achievement. Perfectionists often equate success with flawless execution, but this definition of success is limiting and restrictive. Instead, success can be redefined as making progress, taking action, and embracing the process no matter how messy or imperfect it may seem. This shift allows individuals to celebrate small victories, like completing a task, making a decision, or even simply taking a step forward, without needing every detail to be flawless. By acknowledging and appreciating these moments, individuals can gradually shift their focus from outcomes to effort, fostering a greater sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. Redefining success also means embracing the fact that life is inherently unpredictable and full of uncertainty. Perfectionism thrives in controlled environments where everything is planned and executed to perfection. But the reality is that life often unfolds in unexpected ways. By embracing the uncertainty of life and seeing it as an opportunity for growth and adventure, individuals can free themselves from the constraints of perfectionism and step into a more relaxed and flexible approach to living. Another significant component of letting go of perfectionism is learning how to take risks and embrace vulnerability. Perfectionists often avoid taking risks or stepping out of their comfort zones because they fear making mistakes or failing. However, without taking risks, there is little opportunity for growth, creativity, or change. Letting go of perfectionism encourages individuals to step into situations where success is not guaranteed, to experiment, and to allow themselves to fail without fear of judgment or self-reproach. This ability to embrace vulnerability fosters a sense of courage and resilience as individuals begin to trust themselves more and accept that mistakes are part of the journey. Taking risks also enables individuals to discover new talents, interests, and strengths that they may not have known existed if they had stayed within the confines of their perfectionist mindset. In practice, letting go of perfectionism requires intentional effort and the development of healthy habits that promote balance, flexibility, and well-being. One effective approach is setting realistic and achievable goals. Perfectionists often set impossibly high standards that are difficult or impossible to meet, setting themselves up for disappointment and frustration. By setting more attainable, incremental goals, Individuals can experience a greater sense of accomplishment and progress without the pressure of needing everything to be perfect. Additionally, learning how to prioritize self-care and relaxation is crucial in releasing perfectionism. Perfectionists tend to push themselves relentlessly, often sacrificing rest or relaxation in the name of productivity. However, taking time to rest, reflect, and recharge is essential for long-term well-being, as it helps to reset the mind and restore energy. Ultimately, letting go of perfectionism allows individuals to embrace their humanity, their imperfections, vulnerabilities, and mistakes, and find peace in the idea that they are worthy and enough, exactly as they are. By shifting the focus from unattainable standards to personal growth, self-compassion, and resilience, individuals can break free from the suffocating grip of perfectionism and lead more fulfilling, authentic lives. Letting go of perfectionism opens the door to creativity, innovation, and deeper connections with others, as it encourages individuals to act with confidence, embrace challenges, and, above all, appreciate the beauty of imperfection. Chapter 5. The Power of Mindfulness. The power of mindfulness goes far beyond a simple awareness of the present moment. It offers a profound shift in how individuals relate to their thoughts, feelings, and the world around them. At its core, mindfulness is about cultivating an ability to observe one's inner and outer experiences with full attention, while also fostering a sense of acceptance and non-judgment. This practice allows individuals to step out of the automatic, unconscious reactions that often fuel overthinking and emotional turmoil, offering them a clearer and more grounded way of engaging with life. Overthinking, anxiety, and stress often arise when the mind becomes consumed by past regrets or future concerns, trapping individuals in a cycle of mental distress. Mindfulness, however, brings attention back to the here and now, offering individuals a respite from the constant stream of thoughts that often lead to mental overload. Instead of getting caught in judgments or criticisms about their thoughts and feelings, individuals practicing mindfulness learn to observe them from a place of curiosity and openness, recognizing that thoughts are simply mental events, not truths. This ability to observe thoughts without identifying with them creates a sense of mental distance, which breaks the cycle of rumination and prevents the individual from becoming consumed by anxious or negative thinking patterns. One of the most significant benefits of mindfulness is that it allows individuals to break free from the autopilot mode in which they typically operate. In daily life, many people move through their routines and interactions without truly engaging with the present moment. This leads to a sense of disconnection, as individuals may be physically present, but mentally elsewhere, thinking about something that happened earlier in the day or worrying about what might happen in the future. Mindfulness reorients the individual to the present moment, encouraging them to fully engage with whatever they are doing, whether it's eating, walking, working, or having a conversation. By directing attention to the present, mindfulness helps individuals become more attuned to the subtleties of their environment and their internal state. For example, when practicing mindfulness while eating, one might notice the texture, taste, and smell of the food in a way that would otherwise go unnoticed, fostering a deeper sense of enjoyment and satisfaction. Similarly, when mindful during interactions with others, individuals become more empathetic listeners, truly present in the moment, rather than distracted by their own thoughts or judgments. This kind of presence creates a greater sense of connection with oneself and others, leading to more meaningful, fulfilling experiences. In the context of overthinking, mindfulness serves as an incredibly powerful tool for interrupting the cycle of rumination. Overthinkers often replay situations, conversations, or decisions in their minds, analyzing every detail and imagining every possible outcome, often spiraling into anxiety or self-doubt. Mindfulness, by contrast, involves noticing when the mind begins to wander into these unproductive thought patterns and gently guiding it back to the present, rather than allowing the mind to run wild with hypothetical scenarios and what-ifs. Mindfulness teaches individuals to acknowledge the thoughts as they arise, but to not become absorbed by them. It offers a mental pause that prevents the escalation of worrying, allowing individuals to regain perspective. When individuals practice mindfulness regularly, they build mental resilience, training their minds to return to a calm, balanced state when confronted with stress or anxiety. This ability to interrupt overthinking and center oneself in the present moment fosters greater clarity, as the individual is able to respond thoughtfully and deliberately to situations, rather than reacting impulsively or out of fear. Another profound benefit of mindfulness is its ability to improve emotional regulation. Emotions are often the root cause of overthinking, as individuals tend to react to emotions with additional layers of judgment and mental commentary. For example, if someone feels anxious about an upcoming event, they may begin to overthink the potential negative outcomes, fueling their anxiety even further. Mindfulness allows individuals to approach their emotions with a sense of acceptance and awareness, rather than attempting to suppress, deny, or judge them. By observing emotions as they arise, individuals can better understand the physical sensations and thought patterns that accompany them, which gives them more control over how they respond. Instead of being swept away by intense emotions, individuals practicing mindfulness can create a sense of space between themselves and their emotional reactions, choosing how to engage with those emotions in a way that is healthy and constructive. This emotional clarity also reduces the likelihood of impulsive reactions or decisions driven by overwhelming feelings, as mindfulness enables individuals to respond from a place of grounded awareness rather than from a place of emotional reactivity. Mindfulness also fosters self-compassion, which is essential in letting go of perfectionism and reducing self-criticism. Perfectionism often thrives in an environment where individuals are harshly critical of themselves, judging themselves for every mistake and striving for an unattainable standard of flawlessness. Mindfulness helps to soften this inner critical voice by teaching individuals to treat themselves with the same kindness and understanding that they would offer to others. By acknowledging their imperfections and mistakes with a sense of compassion, individuals can stop beating themselves up over every misstep and instead see challenges as opportunities for growth. Mindfulness allows individuals to understand that they are not defined by their flaws or shortcomings, and that they deserve care and respect even when they make mistakes. This self-compassion encourages individuals to release the pressure of perfectionism, as they no longer feel the need to be flawless in order to feel worthy of love and acceptance. As a result, individuals can embrace their humanity, recognizing that imperfections are simply part of the shared human experience. In addition to reducing perfectionism and emotional reactivity, mindfulness improves cognitive flexibility. Cognitive flexibility refers to the ability to adapt one's thinking in response to changing circumstances or new information. In the context of overthinking, cognitive flexibility allows individuals to move away from rigid, unproductive thought patterns and instead approach problems with a more open and creative mindset. For example, rather than fixating on one specific solution to a problem and becoming paralyzed by doubt or fear, individuals practicing mindfulness are able to explore multiple possibilities and make decisions without the burden of excessive mental analysis. This flexibility fosters problem-solving abilities and reduces the tendency to become mentally stuck in repetitive, circular thinking. Mindfulness also enhances focus and concentration, which can be incredibly helpful for individuals struggling with distractions or feeling overwhelmed by tasks. In today's fast-paced world, many people feel scattered or mentally fragmented, constantly multitasking and juggling multiple demands. Mindfulness encourages individuals to focus their attention on one thing at a time, which improves their ability to complete tasks with greater efficiency and clarity. Whether it's working on a project, having a conversation, or engaging in a hobby, mindfulness helps individuals stay fully present, avoiding the distractions that often lead to anxiety or diminished productivity. By developing this ability to concentrate, individuals experience less mental clutter and greater mental clarity, which allows them to achieve a state of flow where they can work or engage in activities without the interference of unnecessary worries or distractions. Furthermore, mindfulness has physical benefits that support overall well-being. The practice of mindfulness often incorporates breathing exercises, which activate the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting relaxation and reducing stress. When individuals are mindful, they are more likely to notice physical sensations, such as tension in the body, shallow breathing, or signs of fatigue. This heightened awareness encourages them to address these physical cues with self-care, whether through deep breathing, stretching, or simply taking a moment to rest. By staying attuned to the body, individuals can prevent the physical symptoms of stress from building up and creating long-term health problems, such as chronic pain, high blood pressure, or digestive issues. The combination of mental and physical awareness through mindfulness supports holistic health, ensuring that both the mind and body remain balanced and resilient. The transformative power of mindfulness lies in its ability to cultivate a sense of presence, clarity, and inner peace amidst the chaos of everyday life. Through regular practice, mindfulness helps individuals disengage from the constant chatter of the mind, allowing them to experience life more fully and with greater appreciation. It offers the freedom to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, creating space for emotional regulation, self-compassion, and more meaningful connections with others. Mindfulness ultimately empowers individuals to become more aware of their inner world, fostering greater mental freedom and well-being. It is a practice that, when integrated into daily life, can lead to profound personal transformation and a greater sense of peace, purpose, and contentment. Chapter 6: The Art of Decision-Making. The art of decision-making is a multifaceted skill that touches upon cognitive, emotional, and behavioral aspects of human functioning, playing a pivotal role in shaping an individual's life and trajectory. It starts with the understanding that every decision, whether small or significant, carries both risks and rewards, and the outcome is often influenced by a variety of factors, such as personal values, past experiences, intuition, and the context in which the decision is made. One of the major challenges in decision-making is the overwhelming pressure to make the right choice, often stemming from a fear of failure, judgment, or regret. This fear can cause individuals to overanalyze every option, imagining all possible scenarios and outcomes, which leads to paralysis by analysis. However, the key to effective decision-making is recognizing that perfection is an illusion and that no decision is guaranteed to be without mistakes or setbacks. Instead of seeking certainty, individuals can shift their mindset to one of openness and adaptability, accepting that even decisions that don't turn out as expected provide valuable lessons that contribute to personal growth. Decision-making is less about ensuring flawless outcomes and more about making choices that align with one's goals, values, and current understanding of the situation. In the process of making decisions, there is a constant interplay between the rational and emotional parts of the brain. Logical thinking can help individuals evaluate the facts, assess risks, and weigh pros and cons, while emotional intelligence helps to assess how choices align with personal desires, needs, and long-term happiness. The most effective decision-makers are able to integrate both of these aspects using logical reasoning to understand the consequences of their choices, while also paying attention to how they feel about each option. For instance, a choice that might seem logical on paper may not resonate emotionally, leading to dissatisfaction or regret later on. On the other hand, emotional impulses that are not balanced with reason can lead to impulsive decisions that lack foresight or consideration for future consequences. Successful decision-making requires a balance, where individuals give equal weight to their intuition and emotions, but also use logic and critical thinking to ensure that their choices are informed and aligned with their broader goals. This process also involves practicing self-awareness, as individuals need to recognize their biases and emotional triggers that may cloud their judgment or lead to impulsive decisions. For example, fear of missing out (FOMO) It leads someone to make a choice based on external pressure or societal expectations, rather than their own authentic desires. By becoming aware of these influences, individuals can make decisions from a place of clarity and confidence, rather than from unconscious impulses or societal norms. A key challenge in decision-making is overcoming the temptation of perfectionism. Many individuals spend an excessive amount of time and energy seeking the perfect decision, as they believe that any wrong choice will result in negative consequences, failure, or regret. This mindset can cause people to delay making decisions altogether, out of fear of making the wrong choice. However, the reality is that waiting for the perfect solution can be more damaging than making a decision with the best available information. By learning to let go of the need for perfection and embracing the idea that mistakes are an inherent part of the human experience, individuals can free themselves from the fear of failure and move forward with confidence. Mistakes, in fact, provide critical opportunities for growth and learning, as they allow individuals to adjust their approach, refine their strategies, and improve their decision-making in the future. The process of letting go of perfectionism in decision-making requires the individual to trust that they can handle whatever outcome arises, and that their resilience and ability to learn from experience will guide them through any challenges that come their way. Another key component of the art of decision-making is the ability to make choices in alignment with one's values and goals. Often, people are swayed by external influences, such as the opinions of others, societal pressures, or immediate gratification, leading to decisions that don't truly reflect their authentic desires or long-term objectives. By clarifying one's core values, such as family, health, personal growth, or creativity, individuals can make decisions that resonate deeply with their sense of purpose and contribute to their long-term well-being. Decisions made from a place of alignment with one's values tend to be more fulfilling, as they are grounded in authenticity and personal truth. For example, an individual who values health might make the decision to prioritize exercise and nutritious meals, even when faced with temptations like junk food or skipping workouts. In this case, the decision is based on the individual's broader goals of well-being, rather than short-term pleasures or external pressures. This alignment between decisions and values not only ensures that choices are more satisfying, but also helps individuals stay focused on their long-term objectives, rather than becoming distracted by fleeting desires or external expectations. One of the most powerful tools in decision-making is the ability to embrace uncertainty and risk. In life, there are few choices that come with guaranteed outcomes, and the fear of making a wrong decision can paralyze individuals from taking action. However, the reality is that all decisions carry some level of uncertainty, and the only way to make progress is by embracing this uncertainty and moving forward with the best available information. In fact, it is often through taking calculated risks that individuals grow, learn, and evolve. This is especially true in situations where individuals feel stuck, unsure, or overwhelmed by the options before them. Instead of waiting for perfect conditions or certainty, individuals can practice courage by making decisions despite the unknown, trusting that they can adapt and learn from any challenges or setbacks along the way. Embracing uncertainty also requires a mindset shift, where individuals see challenges as opportunities for growth, rather than as threats to be avoided. This perspective allows for greater flexibility in decision-making, as individuals are open to adjusting their course of action as new information arises or circumstances change. This openness to the unknown fosters resilience and adaptability, empowering individuals to take bold action, even in the face of fear or doubt. Additionally, decision-making involves recognizing the importance of timing. Making decisions too quickly or impulsively can lead to regret, while delaying decisions for too long can result in missed opportunities or unnecessary stress. Learning how to assess the timing of a decision is crucial for achieving optimal outcomes. Sometimes, the best decision is not to act immediately, but to give oneself the space to reflect, gather more information, and consider all options more carefully. Other times, waiting for the perfect time to act may lead to missed opportunities, and it is better to make a decision and take action, even if the timing is less than ideal. This requires an understanding of one's own decision-making process and the ability to assess the situation with both patience and urgency. Effective decision-makers understand that timing is an essential element of success, and they are able to balance the need for thoughtful reflection with the courage to take decisive action when the moment is right. The ability to make decisions also relies heavily on learning how to handle and reduce decision fatigue. The modern world presents individuals with an overwhelming number of choices, from daily decisions like what to eat to major life decisions such as career moves or relationships. When faced with too many choices, individuals can experience cognitive overload, leading to poor decisions, indecision, or a sense of exhaustion. To mitigate this, effective decision makers learn to simplify their choices and prioritize what matters most. One way to reduce decision fatigue is by creating clear decision-making frameworks, where key priorities or criteria guide choices. For example, someone looking for a new job may prioritize factors like salary, work-life balance, and career growth, which helps to narrow down options and reduce the overwhelming feeling of having too many choices. Additionally, establishing routines and automating certain decisions can free up mental energy for more important or complex choices. By managing decision fatigue, individuals can ensure that they approach decisions with a clear, focused mind, rather than from a place of exhaustion or overwhelm. Furthermore, decision-making is often influenced by the ability to gather and process information effectively. In today's digital age, individuals have access to vast amounts of data and options, which can make decision-making seem daunting. However, the key is not to become paralyzed by an overabundance of information, but to focus on what is truly relevant to the decision at hand. Effective decision-makers learn how to filter out irrelevant information, focusing instead on key factors that align with their goals and values. This involves developing critical thinking skills, which enable individuals to assess the quality and reliability of information, as well as to recognize biases or distortions that may influence their judgment. By developing the ability to gather and process information effectively, individuals can make more informed, confident decisions. In summary, the art of decision-making is a dynamic and multi-layered process that requires a blend of logic, emotional intelligence, intuition, and self-awareness. By learning to balance these elements, individuals can make decisions that are aligned with their values, goals, and long-term vision, while embracing uncertainty and the possibility of mistakes. Through practice and experience, decision-making becomes a skill that can be refined and honed, enabling individuals to take decisive action in both their personal and professional lives. Ultimately, the art of decision-making is not about making perfect choices, but about developing the confidence, resilience, and clarity to make the best choices possible, even in the face of uncertainty. Chapter 7. Building Healthy Boundaries. Building healthy boundaries is essential for maintaining emotional well-being, preserving individual identity, and fostering meaningful, respectful relationships. Boundaries are not merely about saying no to others. They are about establishing and maintaining limits in all aspects of life: physical, emotional, mental, and even spiritual, that reflect one's core values, needs, and personal preferences. Without clear boundaries, individuals often find themselves overwhelmed, drained, or resentful because they may give too much of themselves to others without considering their own limits or well-being. A lack of boundaries can result in burnout, stress, and the erosion of self-worth, as people may feel taken advantage of or disrespected when their needs are neglected in favor of others' demands. In contrast, when individuals actively build and maintain healthy boundaries, they create a safe space in which they can nurture their own needs, desires, and priorities without feeling guilt or fear of rejection. Boundaries are also a form of self-respect. By defining them, individuals communicate to themselves and others that their needs matter, and that their time, energy, and emotional resources are valuable. This self-respect is the foundation for developing healthy, reciprocal relationships where both parties feel seen, heard, and valued. The first step in building healthy boundaries is self-awareness. It requires individuals to reflect on their emotional, physical, and mental limits, and to recognize where they feel comfortable or uncomfortable in various situations and relationships. This awareness involves tuning into one's own feelings, noticing when boundaries are being crossed, and being honest about how certain behaviors or interactions make them feel. For instance, one might feel drained after a long conversation with a friend who constantly vents about their problems, or one might feel anxious when their time is constantly being monopolized by work demands. Identifying these feelings is a crucial step in understanding where boundaries need to be set. Self-awareness also involves recognizing one's values, which act as the internal compass for setting boundaries. For example, if an individual values their personal time and well-being, they may set a boundary around their work hours to prevent overworking and ensure they have time to rest, recharge, and engage in activities that promote their mental health. Through self-awareness, individuals begin to understand what they need to feel balanced and protected, which provides the foundation for creating boundaries that reflect their authentic selves. Once an individual has developed self-awareness about their limits and needs, the next step is to clearly communicate those boundaries to others. This is where assertiveness becomes an important skill. Assertive communication is different from aggressive or passive communication. It involves expressing one's needs, desires, and limits in a respectful, direct, and calm manner. For example, rather than passively agreeing to do something they don't want to do out of fear of upsetting someone, an individual can assertively say, "I understand that you need help, but I have prior commitments, and I am unable to assist at this time." This clear communication helps to prevent misunderstandings and ensures that others are aware of an individual's limits. Setting boundaries is not about being rigid or rejecting others. It is about maintaining respect for oneself while also respecting the needs and boundaries of others. When boundaries are communicated effectively, it becomes easier to maintain balance in relationships, as both individuals understand the limits and expectations that exist between them. Importantly, healthy boundaries are a form of mutual respect. By setting them, individuals foster an environment where their own needs are honored, while also making space for others to express and honor their needs. Setting boundaries can be especially challenging when there is fear of conflict or disappointing others. Many people struggle with feelings of guilt or shame when they say no, or when they assert their needs, because they worry that others will view them as selfish, unkind, or uncaring. This is often due to societal conditioning or learned behaviors from childhood, where people are taught to prioritize others' needs over their own. However, learning to say no and setting clear boundaries is not an act of selfishness. Rather, it is a necessary practice of self-care and emotional preservation. Saying no allows individuals to prioritize their own well-being and avoid overcommitting or sacrificing their time and energy in ways that can lead to resentment or burnout. Over time, individuals who consistently set and maintain boundaries become more comfortable with asserting their needs, and they begin to trust that their well-being is just as important as others. It also becomes easier to recognize when guilt or fear of judgment arises and to challenge those feelings by reaffirming the importance of self-care and personal boundaries. Building the courage to say no is a skill that requires practice, but it is essential for creating relationships that are mutually respectful, where both parties' needs are acknowledged and valued. Another important aspect of building healthy boundaries is learning to recognize and respect the boundaries of others. Just as individuals need to set limits for themselves, they must also honor the boundaries set by others. This involves listening actively and being attuned to others' verbal and non-verbal cues about their needs and limitations. For example, if a friend expresses that they are not ready to talk about a difficult topic, respecting their need for space is crucial for maintaining a healthy relationship. Likewise, understanding when someone needs time alone, or when they are unable to provide support due to their own personal boundaries, is essential for fostering respect and compassion in relationships. Building mutual respect for each other's boundaries leads to healthier, more balanced connections, where individuals feel safe and supported without the fear of overstepping or being taken advantage of. In this way, boundary setting is not only about protecting oneself, but also about fostering an environment where all parties feel empowered to express their needs and limits. Boundaries also play a significant role in managing the emotional dynamics of relationships. In any relationship, there can be moments of tension or disagreement, and establishing clear boundaries helps to maintain emotional stability. For example, if an individual has a friend who tends to engage in toxic or manipulative behavior, setting a boundary around how much emotional energy they are willing to invest in the relationship can help protect against emotional drain. Similarly, if someone is dealing with a controlling family member, setting a boundary around personal decisions, such as career choices or lifestyle, can help to preserve autonomy and reduce the likelihood of conflict. Healthy boundaries act as a shield against emotional exploitation and manipulation, allowing individuals to protect their mental and emotional well-being while still being able to maintain relationships. By defining emotional limits, individuals can better manage their emotional responses and avoid the buildup of resentment or frustration that can arise when boundaries are not respected. A critical element in building and maintaining healthy boundaries is consistency. Setting boundaries once is not enough. They need to be reinforced and consistently maintained over time. This requires ongoing self-awareness and communication, as well as the willingness to adjust boundaries as circumstances change. For example, a boundary around personal time needs to be adjusted if a work situation changes or if new responsibilities emerge. Boundaries are not static. They are dynamic and adaptable to the ebb and flow of life's challenges and transitions. It's important to assess whether current boundaries are still serving one's needs and to be flexible in adjusting them when necessary. For example, an individual who once had a boundary around not answering work emails after a certain time may need to reassess that boundary if their workload increases or as there are urgent deadlines. The key is to maintain a sense of balance, ensuring that personal needs are still prioritized while also remaining flexible enough to adapt to changing situations. Another layer of building healthy boundaries is knowing when to let go of relationships or commitments that are no longer serving one's well-being. In some cases, individuals may find themselves in relationships or situations where their boundaries are consistently violated or ignored, leading to emotional exhaustion or distress. It's essential to recognize when a relationship is toxic or draining, and to have the courage to let go or distance oneself from it. This doesn't always mean cutting off contact entirely, but it does mean reasserting personal boundaries and deciding whether the relationship aligns with one's values and goals. Sometimes, letting go of relationships or commitments that no longer serve us is the ultimate form of self-care, allowing individuals to make space for more positive, fulfilling connections. Ultimately, building healthy boundaries is a practice that requires self-awareness, self-compassion, and the courage to protect one's well-being, all of which are essential for fostering both personal growth and healthy, balanced relationships. By consistently setting and respecting boundaries, individuals create a life where they are empowered to prioritize their needs, connect with others authentically, and navigate relationships with a sense of clarity and confidence. Chapter 8. Rewiring your thought patterns. Rewiring thought patterns is an intricate and intentional process that involves breaking free from deeply ingrained mental habits that have often been formed over many years, sometimes even from childhood. These thought patterns, which may have developed in response to early life experiences, societal conditioning, or repeated negative experiences, can be so automatic that they become unconscious and habitual, leading to negative outcomes such as stress, anxiety, self-doubt, and fear. Often, Individuals don't even realize that they are trapped in these repetitive thought cycles, which can become self-perpetuating, reinforcing negative beliefs about themselves, their capabilities, and the world around them. Rewiring these thought patterns is a conscious effort to shift away from limiting beliefs and behaviors and replace them with healthier, more adaptive ways of thinking that foster personal growth, confidence, and resilience. This transformation requires a multi-step process that involves first becoming acutely aware of the automatic, negative thought patterns that keep one stuck in a cycle of self-sabotage, anxiety, and defeat. For example, a person might have a habitual thought pattern like "I'm not good enough" or "I will fail," which leads them to feel discouraged and reluctant to take action. These thoughts are often based on past experiences or societal messages that may not reflect the truth of who they are or their potential for growth. Therefore, identifying these patterns is a crucial first step in rewiring the brain, as awareness is the foundation for change. Once the negative thought patterns have been identified, the next step is to examine their origins and challenge their validity. Many negative thoughts are based on cognitive distortions, ways of thinking that are inaccurate or irrational, such as all or nothing thinking, catastrophizing, or overgeneralizing. For instance, if someone fails at a task, they might automatically think, "I'll never succeed at anything." This is a form of overgeneralization, where one isolated incident is used as evidence of an overall inability or failure. By learning to recognize these distortions, individuals can begin to question the truth of their thoughts. This involves asking themselves critical questions such as, "Is this thought based on facts? Or is it a story I've created in my mind? Or is this thought helpful in moving me forward?" In this way, individuals challenge their assumptions and begin to see that many of their negative thoughts are not rooted in reality, but are merely products of their own perception. This process of critical questioning is important because it allows individuals to detach from the emotional charge that often accompanies negative thoughts, enabling them to approach situations more rationally and with a clearer perspective. After challenging negative thoughts, the next step in rewiring thought patterns is to replace those thoughts with healthier, more positive alternatives. This doesn't mean simply replacing negative thoughts with empty affirmations, but rather reframing situations and thoughts in a way that encourages growth and resilience. For example, instead of thinking "I'm not good enough," one might replace that with "I have unique strengths, and I am always growing and improving." This reframing process helps individuals develop a more positive self-concept, which in turn encourages them to take action toward their goals. Rewiring thought patterns also involves incorporating positive affirmations and self-talk, which are intentional statements that reinforce self-belief and empower individuals to move past limitations. The key to affirmations is that they need to be rooted in truth and possibility. For instance, saying "I am capable of overcoming challenges" is more effective than "I am perfect," which may feel inauthentic and unattainable. Over time, as individuals consistently practice positive self-talk and affirmations, their neural pathways begin to shift, allowing new, empowering beliefs to take root. In addition to positive affirmations, a powerful tool for rewiring thought patterns is visualization. Visualization involves mentally picturing oneself succeeding in a particular area or achieving a desired outcome. This technique activates the brain in a way that strengthens the belief in one's ability to succeed. For example, an individual who fears public speaking might visualize themselves confidently speaking in front of an audience, seeing themselves delivering their speech with ease and receiving positive feedback. Visualization works by strengthening the neural connections associated with the desired behavior, making it feel more achievable and real. It also helps individuals overcome fear by training the brain to associate the feared situation with positive, empowering images rather than negative outcomes. Combining visualization with positive affirmations creates a powerful synergy, as both practices encourage the brain to form new, supportive neural connections that align with personal growth and success. Rewiring thought patterns also requires a deep commitment to self-compassion and patience. Many people are often their own harshest critics, which only reinforces negative thought patterns. Being compassionate with oneself means recognizing that growth takes time, and setbacks or mistakes are part of the process. Instead of beating oneself up for not immediately changing negative thought patterns, self-compassion encourages individuals to acknowledge their progress and be gentle with themselves when they fall back into old habits. This attitude of kindness toward oneself fosters a healthy mindset where individuals can continue to try, fail, learn, and try again without feeling defeated or discouraged. In this way, self-compassion is an essential element in rewiring thought patterns because it creates an environment where mistakes are viewed as learning opportunities rather than failures. This compassionate approach also helps individuals become more forgiving of others, as they start to recognize that everyone is on their own journey of growth and self-improvement. A crucial aspect of rewiring thought patterns is to consistently reinforce new, positive habits. Just as negative thought patterns have been reinforced over time, positive patterns require consistent effort to solidify and make them automatic. This can be achieved through daily practices such as journaling, meditation, and mindfulness. Journaling allows individuals to track their thoughts, identify patterns, and reframe negative ideas. Writing down positive affirmations and reviewing them regularly helps to reinforce new beliefs. Meditation and mindfulness practices also play a key role in rewiring the brain because they train individuals to observe their thoughts without attachment or judgment. Through mindfulness, individuals can learn to notice when negative thoughts arise and consciously choose not to engage with them, allowing them to return to a state of calm and clarity. Over time, these daily practices help to strengthen the new neural connections that support positive thought patterns, making them more automatic and ingrained in one's daily life. As individuals continue to practice rewiring their thought patterns, they begin to notice a shift in their overall mindset. They start to approach challenges with more confidence and resilience, knowing that their thoughts are powerful tools for shaping their reality. Negative thoughts no longer have the same emotional charge or power to derail them. Instead of feeling stuck or overwhelmed by fear or self-doubt, they are able to take decisive action, knowing that they have the mental tools to overcome obstacles. This shift in mindset is often accompanied by a sense of greater self-efficacy and understanding that they are in control of their thoughts and their responses to external situations. This newfound sense of empowerment helps individuals to approach life with a more optimistic outlook, knowing that they can shape their experiences through the power of their thoughts. In addition to developing a more resilient mindset, rewiring thought patterns also fosters greater emotional intelligence. As individuals become more aware of their thoughts, they also become more aware of their emotions and how their thoughts influence their feelings. For example, someone who tends to catastrophize might experience heightened anxiety in response to a minor inconvenience, simply because their thoughts are focused on the worst-case scenario. By rewiring these thoughts, individuals can reduce the emotional intensity of their reactions, which leads to greater emotional stability and balance. Rewiring thought patterns also helps individuals to cultivate empathy and compassion for others, as they begin to recognize the power of thoughts in shaping their experiences and realize that others are also navigating their own thought patterns and struggles. Rewiring thought patterns is not just about changing the way we think, but also about changing the way we perceive ourselves and the world around us. This transformation has a ripple effect that influences every aspect of life, from relationships to career to overall happiness. As individuals embrace the process of rewiring their thought patterns, they begin to see life through a different lens, one that is more open, optimistic, and aligned with their true potential. This shift in perception allows them to unlock new possibilities, face challenges with greater confidence, and create a reality that reflects their most empowered and authentic selves. Ultimately, rewiring thought patterns is a powerful tool for personal growth, self-empowerment, and the creation of a fulfilling, purposeful life. Conclusion. The journey to stop overthinking is a deeply transformative process that involves a profound shift in both how we perceive and respond to our thoughts. Overthinking often stems from a deep-seated fear of uncertainty, insecurity, and the need for control over every aspect of life. People who struggle with overthinking tend to become trapped in a cycle of excessive analysis, replaying scenarios in their minds, imagining worst-case outcomes, and finding it difficult to take decisive action. Over time, this constant mental chatter only causes emotional exhaustion, but can also hinder progress, create self-doubt, and contribute to feelings of anxiety and stress. The first step in breaking free from this cycle, developing self-awareness, which involves observing the patterns of overthinking without judgment and understanding when and why they arise. This awareness allows individuals to recognize that overthinking is a habitual response that can be controlled and redirected, rather than an inevitable part of their nature. Understanding the triggers of overthinking, whether it's fear of failure, a desire for perfection, or past unresolved trauma, enables individuals to address the root causes of their mental patterns and make intentional choices to stop the cycle before it spirals out of control. Once awareness is established, the next step is to incorporate mindfulness practices into daily life. Mindfulness teaches individuals to focus on the present moment, gently bringing their attention back to the here and now whenever their minds wander into the past or future. By practicing mindfulness, individuals can break free from the mental loops of overthinking and regain control over their mental focus. Mindfulness practices, such as deep breathing, meditation, or body awareness exercises, help to calm the nervous system and bring clarity, making it easier to approach challenges with a sense of balance and presence. This presence enables individuals to make decisions more confidently and intuitively, without being paralyzed by the need for perfect answers or a fear of making mistakes. One of the critical components of stopping overthinking is the practice of self-compassion. Overthinkers often criticize themselves for not having the perfect solution or for making mistakes, which only perpetuates the cycle of mental rumination. Learning to be kind to oneself, to recognize that it's okay to not have all the answers, and to embrace imperfection is essential in breaking free from the pressure to overanalyze every situation. Self-compassion creates the mental space to let go of the need to control every outcome and instead trust in one's ability to handle whatever comes their way. Reframing negative thoughts is another powerful strategy for overcoming overthinking. Overthinkers tend to engage in cognitive distortions, such as catastrophizing or mind reading, where they jump to the worst-case scenario or assume they know what others are thinking. Reframing these negative thoughts involves challenging their validity and replacing them with more rational, positive alternatives. For instance, instead of thinking "I'll never succeed," one might reframe that thought to "I may face challenges, but I have the skills and resilience to overcome them." This process not only disrupts the cycle of overthinking, but also encourages a mindset of possibility and growth. The more often individuals practice reframing negative thoughts, the more natural it becomes to see situations through a more balanced, realistic lens, reducing the tendency to spiral into excessive rumination. Another key element in stopping overthinking is learning to let go of perfectionism. Overthinkers often feel the need to get everything right, to anticipate every possible outcome, and to make flawless decisions. This desire for perfection is rooted in the fear of failure and the belief that anything less than perfection is unacceptable. Letting go of perfectionism involves embracing the idea that mistakes and failures are natural parts of the learning process and do not define one's worth. By shifting from a mindset of perfection to one of progress, individuals can take action with less fear, knowing that they can adjust along the way and learn from any missteps. A powerful tool in the fight against overthinking is decision-making. Overthinkers often struggle with making decisions, as they become bogged down by endless possibilities and fear of making the wrong choice. The more time spent deliberating, the more anxious and overwhelmed they feel, often leading to decision paralysis. To combat this, individuals can practice the art of making decisions more efficiently by setting clear priorities, trusting their intuition, and accepting that no decision is ever 100% risk-free. By reframing decision-making as a process of making the best choice with the available information, rather than seeking perfect answers, individuals can free themselves from the endless cycle of overthinking and take more purposeful action. Setting healthy boundaries is also essential in overcoming overthinking. Overthinkers may find themselves overwhelmed by the opinions and demands of others, leading to increased stress and a constant mental focus on external validation. Setting clear boundaries helps to protect one's mental space and ensures that energy is focused on the most important aspects of life, rather than becoming entangled in other people's expectations or judgments. By learning to say no when necessary and prioritizing self-care, individuals can reduce mental clutter and prevent overthinking from being triggered by external pressures. Furthermore, overcoming overthinking involves creating a mental environment that supports clarity and simplicity. This can be achieved by simplifying one's daily routines, reducing distractions, and adopting strategies such as journaling to declutter the mind. Journaling is particularly effective because it allows individuals to externalize their thoughts, gain perspective, and identify patterns in their thinking that contribute to overanalyzing. Writing down one's worries or concerns helps to separate them from the immediate present moment, creating a sense of distance and reducing the emotional charge associated with overthinking. Additionally, taking regular breaks and engaging in activities that promote relaxation, such as physical exercise, nature walks, or creative hobbies, can help to reset the mind and prevent mental fatigue that often leads to overthinking. It's important to recognize that overthinking is a learned habit, and as such, it can be unlearned with consistent effort and practice. Overcoming overthinking is not about eliminating all thoughts or worries, but rather about learning to manage them more effectively and not allowing them to dominate one's life. As individuals progress on the journey to stop overthinking, they begin to develop a greater sense of trust in themselves and their abilities. The constant self-doubt and second-guessing that characterize overthinking begin to fade as they learn to take action with greater confidence and clarity. The freedom from overthinking allows individuals to experience life more fully, embracing challenges without being weighed down by unnecessary mental burdens. The process of stopping overthinking is not a quick fix, but rather a lifelong practice of mindfulness, self-awareness, and self-compassion that leads to greater mental well-being and emotional freedom. With time, individuals who have successfully learned to stop overthinking are able to make decisions more efficiently, handle uncertainty with ease, and approach life with a sense of calm and balance. Ultimately, stopping overthinking empowers individuals to live more authentically, make choices that align with their true values, and move forward with a sense of purpose and confidence, free from the constant chatter of the mind.